And Mine Crypto here. I hope we're all having a wonderful day. And the title of the video is Short on Time, No Fragmentation. Remember, please subscribe, hit that notification bell so that you don't miss any further videos. And do me a big favor and just hit that like. It will do me a massive favor. Remembering none of this is financial advice. I am not a financial advisor, and none of the information provided in this video should be used as a signal to buy or to sell. But first and foremost, we look at the crypto bubbles, and as we can see, there are a few in here that are doing really well, and obviously we're looking rather red. And as usual, Quant just sticks around that $100 mark, which is showing a lot of strength. Although volume is low, and we've lost a few ranks over the last week or so, I'm still very positive about Quant. And we are currently sitting at rank 54 with a market cap of 1.22 billion and 24-hour volume of $27 million. Quant currently sitting at $101, currently up 0.9% in the hour, down 1.6% in the day, and up 4.4% in the week. And if we go over to the crypto quant, we can see current exchange values that the reserve is currently sitting at 1.387 million sitting there, and we're seeing it slightly down from yesterday if my memory serves me right, which is very, very good, because if we look over here, we see the net flow, the mean of the net flow. This equals the minus and the pluses of inflow and outflow, and we're seeing that number minus 5,861 quant leaving the exchanges, which is always lovely to see people moving it off exchanges, and there's less going in, more coming out, which is brilliant. Now I see this tweet from my man, Mr. Miles Bron. He played a prank on everybody yesterday, but we might talk about that tomorrow because I think that's really important and how that affected quite a few people within the market. But first, we look at the message itself. The UK is pacing up its efforts for a launch of the UK CBDC and have even roped in MIT to zero down on the pros and cons of CBDCs. What does this mean for Quant? Well, we know MIT and Quant have a very good relationship, and the Overledger is a platform that was used during the testing of Rosalind and would most likely be used for a launch. We could see the digital pound much earlier than expected, as Britain want to avoid excessive expenditure on pilots and trials. I love that. Great news for Quant, as one of the biggest use cases for Overledger is picking up the pace. And as we can see here, the UK is pacing up its efforts to understand the possible outcomes of rolling out digital pound CBDC. On the order of the UK Parliamentary Committee and the House of Commons, the Bank of England and the UK Treasury have analysed the benefits that could entail the launch of this CBDC. The reason is that Britain is trying to avoid excessive expenditure on CBDC pilot and trials. The Bank of England has begun its due consideration on CBDC. The lender has roped in MIT to zero down on the pros and cons of CBDC. And we can also see here, we heard evidence that the wholesale CBDC could bring potential benefits for the wholesale payments, including by reducing settlement times and counterparty risks. The design for a digital pound proposed by the Bank of England and Treasury is for a platform model in which the Bank of England will provide the core public infrastructure and issue digital pounds, which would be recorded in a core ledger, the House of Commons Treasury Committee wrote in an official post. So things are motoring along. And I see this. This is an old post from Nava Quantfi, but it sort of backs up a little bit what Miles was actually putting out there. It says here, Quant has a monopoly in the UK market for CBDC related expertise. Overledger will move trillions in the next 5 years. And we can see right down here, Quant has almost a monopoly in the state cryptocurrency sector, and its multiple blockchain expertise is sought by builders of CBDCs. Now, I find this very, very positive because this was gained back in 2022. They have been planning this all along, and they're making out that they're going to bypass this pilot system. They've already done all the hard work, in my opinion. Now, I saw this great tweet from Construction Trader ETH. Now, this is really important if you listen to the language. It's something that I played yesterday with fragmentation, which I find, again, very important, that they are trying to keep everything as uniformed as possible. A unified ledger. Now, what does that sound like? So it says here, in order to achieve policy, you need a set of standards, a rule book that everyone is playing by. Everybody looks at that rule book and says, yep, that's what we need to do. And that's essentially particularly what I see is ISO TC 307. So TC 307 is the standard. Overledger is the common platform. Act accordingly. So let's have a quick listen to this.
Technologies for policy purposes, i.e., employ all the greatness of encryption and programmability and tokenization in order to achieve policy objectives. And I think that is where the interesting work is going on at the moment. So the risks that we are seeing more concretely is that we could end up in a fragmented world, not just politically, but also in a fragmented world in terms of the underlying pipes of payments, which ultimately underline capital market activity and broader economic activity. We could end up in a world where we have connected entities to some degree, but some entities and some countries that are excluded. And as a global and multilateral institution, we are sort of aiming to provide a basic connectivity, a basic set of rules and governance that is truly multilateral and inclusive. So I think that is the ambition, is to aim for innovation that is compatible with policy goals and that is inclusive relative to the broad membership of, say, the IMF. So let me, oversimplifying a little bit, compare and contrast two models of payment connectivity that are being debated at the moment. So the one is the interlinking of fast payment systems, and Cecilia explained quite a bit of that already, and that is extremely powerful, as she explained, right? So you can have a central hub where these payment systems are being interlinked, and it can, in principle, provide a broad interconnectivity around the world. But of course, to get to the settlement stage, common platforms are likely needed. And so the way we look at the world is that there's not one solution that solves all problems. So we really think that a multi-pronged approach is the right approach, where you have a variety of possibilities of doing cross-border payments. So the platform model is connected to each of the networks. Money is moved through the platform. It's end-to-end, and it's backed by escrowed money. In particular, what we have in mind are tokenized versions of central bank money. And these platforms would offer settlement services on a trusted, integrated, scalable, and widely accessible environment. So we are working alongside BIS Innovation Hub. So in particular, the BIS proposed this concept of unified ledgers, which is very much aligned with the second model. The BIS Innovation Hub is working on interlinking the fast payment system, but it's also working on many bridges, which are platforms for cross-border clearing and settlement. The World Bank has various projects, particularly on interlinking. I mentioned already the FSB, together with the CPMI, led work on these cross-border payments platforms. And then, of course, there are all the private sector initiatives that we already heard about.
So very, very interesting there, talking about the BIS, the IMF, the unified ledger. They want to reduce fragmentation. And I played this video yesterday, but I don't know if you picked up on it with regards to what Tom, the Chief of Innovation at Swift, said.
Right, so we talk about kind of global reach and kind of exploring what could be. We don't know which one's going to work, so we want to be involved in all of these things. We want to help the industry and the community figure out the right way to do it, and we want to drive the interoperability that we think is going to be required to make these new networks and these new FMIs successful and avoid kind of future fragmentation.
There you go. He talks about to avoid future fragmentation. And he's already said at the start of that speech, he wants to work with the BIS and other entities that are working towards this whole infrastructure, financial infrastructure. And as you heard, fragmentation is something that they want to avoid. I already believe they're already ahead with all this. I think a lot of this is talking in hindsight, all very lip puckering. So there you go, guys. Really, really positive. Remember, none of this is financial advice. Always do your own research. All the best, and I'll catch you later.